Hey, how's it going? So welcome to part 2 or video 2 of the video series 9 to 5 to Freedom. And in this video, we're going to be talking about whether Amazon is the right business for you or not. So the reason I'm making this video really is several reasons. The first reason is because I think a lot of people jump into things like building an Amazon business without actually realizing the reality of what it's like. You know, what things will you be doing day to day? And if you're not going to enjoy the things you're doing day to day in any pursuit, then really you shouldn't do it, because otherwise you're just going to be miserable, you're going to quit, and you might end up wasting a lot of money. So I just want to make sure this is right for you. I don't believe that everybody should be an entrepreneur to start with. I think the world would be a mess if everybody was an entrepreneur. I think the world would be a mess if everybody had the type of personality that a lot of entrepreneurs have. Right? Believe me, I know a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of very, very successful entrepreneurs, and there's a certain personality type we have, and there's usually something wrong upstairs. You know what I mean? Like there's something not quite right in the brain. Most people who run businesses. And the more entrepreneurs I actually speak with, this just becomes more and more accurate. And, you know, I'm including myself in this group, right? So I'm really glad not everybody on the planet is an entrepreneur, because we're certainly not normal people. Like, we're overly creative, we're like impulsive, we're kind of risk takers, we're a bit, we're not quite right, you know? And so this might not be the right thing for you to do. It's as simple as that. I want to make sure that also, if anybody works with me, like let's say you watch this video and you say, yeah, I want some coaching from Ollie, I want to make sure you're the type of person who's going to get results on my program, because the last thing I want is people to join the program and it not being good for them, because that wastes my time and their time as well. Right? So we're going to talk about, I'm going to try and help you figure out whether this is the right thing for you to do. So the first thing to consider is whether you would actually enjoy running the business. Now, there's kind of two sides to being an entrepreneur, and one of these sides not everybody talks about all the time. The first side is the kind of glamorous side of it. Like me right now, I'm in like a 5-star hotel in Canary Wharf. I have, decent income. I have a nice lifestyle. I travel. I can go business class everywhere. I buy things. It all sounds very fancy. And, it's nice. And that's the side we see of entrepreneurs, right? We see the limos, we see the jets, we see the Lamborghinis, we see, the having 1,000 employees. We see all that stuff because that's the stuff that people want to see, right? And then there's the other side, which is really what entrepreneurs actually spend all their time doing, which is either glued to a laptop, in meetings, on stressful phone calls, figuring out finances, looking at databases, getting neck aches and migraines from overworking sometimes. I've certainly been there. Having to fire employees and it being really uncomfortable and not nice. Having to deal with logistics, or when things go wrong or supplier flakes out on you. The real side of running a business that, to be honest with you, isn't talked about all that much. So to have any chance of actually getting all the glamorous stuff, you have to be able to take all the negative stuff as well and somehow find a way to enjoy it, or at least accept it. Now, when I have a bit of a roller coaster of a month in my business, which does happen, believe it or not, I kind of enjoy it. Actually, I kind of enjoy the ride. I wouldn't want things to be too the same all the time. I'd probably end up like blowing my brains out, because it's boring. I want a bit of drama. I want things to be a little bit chaotic. I just enjoy it. So you have to decide, like, do you want the easy life where things are very simple, or do you want the kind of crazy life? And really, being an entrepreneur is crazy. And also the type of work you're going to be doing, right? So we'll talk about this more in a second, but being on Amazon is not the most people-centric job. So if you really don't like the idea of that, like working by yourself a lot, then it probably won't work for you. very, very much. So you have to enjoy it, or you have to enjoy it. Now, the second thing we need to think about when figuring out whether this is the type of business for you or not is values. Like, what are your values? Now, we talked about this a little bit in the figuring out your why video previously, values. But you really should be doing something that does align with your values. Now, to give you an example, like I get really excited about creating products, like taking a lot of care to create products that customers will open, and they'll order them and they'll open the product and they'll really like using the product, and it'll be really high quality and the packaging is really nice and all that stuff. That kind of thing excites me. Like, I really value giving customers those kind of experiences. I also value growth and self-development. That to me is like probably the number one thing in my life is self-development. My idea of relaxing is finding an audiobook or a book about some way of improving myself and reading it. Like, I've read some self-development books 12, 15 times. I just love it. All right. And that obviously aligns with building a business, because you have to be running on all cylinders if you're going to make a business work. So if you don't like self-development or the idea of developing yourself, just don't build the business. It's not going to work for you. It's fine. A lot of people don't really want to do that. They just want to they value other things. Like, I've got friends who just value, hanging out and having a beer and watching TV, and that's what they want to spend their evenings doing all the time. Nothing wrong with that. But if you want to build a business, like, you have to be a bit obsessed with developing yourself and really maximizing your skill sets. And don't get me wrong, I relax sometimes. Like, I'm not always on, but it takes work to develop yourself, and you have to have that value really, or be able to develop it somehow and realize that you have it, if maybe right now you haven't been doing that. Another thing is look, if you want this idea of passive income, as in money just coming in from you doing zero work and it all being 100% automated and you just pressing a couple buttons each day and seeing the cash come in, like, that's not really how it works. Like, honestly, to be honest, like, when I read the 4-Hour Work Week back in 2014, the idea appealed to me and I wanted that. I wanted to work 4 hours a week. And I wanted it to be extremely passive. But the difference with me is I was willing to put in 60-hour work weeks until I could achieve the 4-hour work week. I was willing to do all the work to get the business moving, and because I was so excited about that prospect of working little and earning a lot, that I was willing to do all the work to get there. So it's kind of conflicting in a way, right? Because I did do a lot of work, but I mean, you can get to the point where you have slow months. Like, I've had months where I've done literally about an hour a day of work, and the business ticks along, bringing 30k, 40k a month, some months 50k, 60k. That can work. But then you will have months where you have to do a lot more to push things forward and get things going. But don't expect it to be passive income, and be aware that this is going to take work, All right. So we've talked about enjoying Amazon. We've talked about making sure it aligns with your values. Finally, I want to talk about your type of personality. So there's a whole scale out there to really kind of measure what your personality is, from very, very extroverted to very, very introverted. And, it's probably not as linear as it seems. I don't think people are, just an extrovert or just an introvert. I don't think they're even necessarily just on that slider. I think there's probably another like x-axis with the y-axis, and there's probably some other personality types in there as well, perhaps. I mean, who knows, right? I'm not a behavioral psychologist, so this isn't really my area of speciality. But the point is, if you're a massive extrovert and you have to be around people all the time, and you want to do the type of work where you're constantly talking, constantly engaging with people, always in meetings, always socializing, then running an Amazon business is going to be pretty boring for you and actually kind of soul destroying. And here's why. All right, my first year of building an Amazon business, for the actual business, like aside from just having a social life, like for the actual work, I did very little with other people. I did most of it by myself on a laptop. Sometimes I was sitting next to a friend who was also working on his business on his laptop. But but the work itself is for introverts, right? It involves getting products shipped from China, shipping them to the UK, packaging them up, sending them to Amazon, managing marketing campaigns, looking at databases, right? Writing listings, taking photos. This is all stuff you do by yourself, really. It's not like having a sales job where you're on the phone talking to people all day, right? It's not like being, I don't know, in a set of the TV where you have to work in a massive team, make sure the actors are in on time, talk to everybody, and organize things together. You're doing this stuff by yourself. And at some point you might have employees, which might make things more bearable for you. But I just think in early stages of the business, you've got to decide, are you willing to do a lot of work by yourself? Now, for me, this is exactly what I wanted. I wanted the thing that made me money. I wanted it for me to be able to do it by myself, not have to work with colleagues that I don't like. If I'm around people who I don't really click with, it drains my soul, like more than most people. It drains my soul. I can't do it. People have to really click with me and energize with me for me to want to spend time with them. That's just how I'm wired. And so when you work in a job, you don't get to choose your colleagues. You know, the boss does. They hire them. And there'll probably be people there that I don't like. And therefore, I just was so anti doing that. And that's why I was so driven to build the Amazon business. And the fact that I could do it by myself on a laptop and socialize when I want to socialize and not socialize when I don't want to socialize, to me, that is just perfect. And I think that's why this works for me so well. So I wanted to give you a warning, like, do you need to work with people to be fulfilled? If you do, maybe try something else. Network marketing, property is very people-centric. There's loads of other businesses out there, but really this business is better for introverts, in my opinion. Or, omniverts, or as long as you're okay with being by yourself for a lot of it. All right, so have a think about this. Have a think about whether you enjoy the actual work, whether you enjoy kind of the roller coaster of being an entrepreneur, whether your values align with what you need to prioritize when you're running the business, and whether you have the type of personality that can do the work you need to do to make the money come in. And, if you're thinking, yeah, you're still here, you're still listening, and you're thinking, yeah, you know what, this will work for me, then I'll see you in the next video where we're going to talk about how to eliminate distractions. Okay, I'm essentially ADHD almost. Like, I haven't been tested, but I wouldn't be surprised if I was. And I get distracted so easily. So this is an area where I really had to learn how to actually control myself. And I'll teach you what I've learned. All right, so as always, if you want some help from me personally, click the link in the description. You can book in an Amazon Accelerator call. We'll talk about your goals, we'll talk about where you are starting from, and we'll talk about what you need help with to hit the goals. And once we've got clear on that whole area, then together we'll build a plan for you to hit your income goals and build your business. And if you want some help, we can talk about how we can do that and work together. So click the link in the description, fill out a very short form, book in a call, you pick a time, whenever you want, and really look forward to catching up with you soon. All right, click the link, book the call, and I'll see you in the next video.